is the Next Level Loan Officers podcast. To learn more about Next Level Loan Officers, go to becomnl.com.
Hey everyone, this is Fraser with Rebel IQ, and we are proud to present this episode of the Next Level Loan Officers podcast. We invite you to join the evolution in the housing industry for marketing at rebeliq.com. Now let's get into the episode.
Hello everyone, this is your Next Level Loan Officers podcast. My name is Sean Zalmanoff, and I'm joined by the one, the only Shane Kidwell. Shane, how are you this morning?
They broke the mold when they made me, and I think that was because it was too much of a liability to have more than one.
You know, the world definitely needs a Shane Kidwell.
Probably not two.
It was a good thing the mold got broken. So Shane, you and I have been talking a lot recently. We made massive changes in our lives, in our career last year. We did something to just do something different because we weren't happy being execs, doing those things at mortgage companies, and wanted to go back to something that was rewarding. You and I both started our own mortgage businesses. We went back into originating, and I'm a much happier person. I'm showing up for my family better, but quite honestly, I'm not closing enough loans. Life's pretty stressful. Now, I was very fortunate to have a really long, great run in my career, and I'm good and financially okay. But it's still, even when you have lots of reserves built up, man, it's still stressful when you're not making money, isn't it?
Yeah, you're either in a position right now where you're not doing what you were doing before, but you did enough then that you're like, you're going to be fine, but you're pissed off, right? Because you're competitive by nature. And so you're losing now. You didn't lose you might have lost the battle. You didn't lose the war, but it's still like nobody likes losing a battle. Or you didn't prepare for this. You did well, but not well enough. Or you didn't put your money away and you weren't strategic with that. And now you're really hurting. And I think that's the reality for most people in the origination business right now. You're either hurting financially or your confidence is hurting, or both. And it's a very unique time for originators. And yeah, man, you and I are in the exact same position as everybody else. We could sit here and act like life is roses and like we're getting ready to go golfing at Pebble Beach, flying on our private jet. But the reality is we live in a boom and bust economy in mortgage, and we had a boom. We are now riding out the bust. But this is also the time when if you strategically reset the right way, you can kick so much ass in the future. And you'll look back and you'll say, that was when I made the change. That's when the momentum started. I didn't feel it at the time, but man, those relationships built, those strategies created, those technologies leveraged are what got me to where I am today in 2024, 2025 and beyond.
The single most important thing I've learned in my study of philosophy is only that which I give power to can have power over me. And, this market, it sucks. I don't know anybody who can honestly say that it's not a challenge right now. You were closing 500 loans or 50 loans last month or last year and whatever you're at right now. But every challenge breeds opportunity. And in hindsight, maybe October of last year wasn't the best time to start a new mortgage business, but it sure has given me a lot of extra grit. And, this podcast here today, you talked last week about 3 things that you would do resetting. And so you and Kellen knocked out one of those. And now let's get into the other 2 things that we were kind of setting the table with that you and I are doing in our markets right now to grow our business and have epic success, set the table for the epic success.
Yes. Success is a relative term because, if you plant a seed and that seed, sprouts roots, and those roots become an invasive, I want to be an invasive species that like once you plant it, you can't get rid of it, like bamboo, right? When you plant bamboo, it is nearly impossible to get rid of bamboo. And now you may not have a lot of Missouri, but we got a lot of bamboo out here in Washington.
There's some people who have some bamboo in their yard. I see
and it grow like it's insane. Well, I want to be like bamboo in the mortgage space. It may take a while for those first bamboo sprouts to break the surface, but man, under the surface, there's been a ton of stuff going on and it's nearly impossible to remove. So we talked about, why should we reset? And regardless of the market, everyone should have strategic times in their business when they reset. If you've had epic highs, you're probably getting arrogant. You probably need to be humbled. You're probably not spending the time with your family, your faith, and your health that you should be. That's a time to reset. So whether you're at a high or a low, resets are important. There's these plateaus in business. We talk about this a lot with the LO disciplines. Then we talked about if you're going to reset, which we all should, how do you reset effectively? Having those people in your court that you sit down with that speak truth into your life, that help challenge you in what you're looking at doing. And they did that for me. And they challenged me and said, are you happy with what you're doing? And the reality was I was blessed. I had an incredible opportunity with a unique company, but I wasn't happy and it wasn't serving my family well. So understanding the resets, number one. Then we talked about, we teased these 3 things that I implemented in my business because the last 2 years I had been on the executive team. Now, my origination business wasn't dead, but it was on life support. Like I think I did like 60 million in 21 and I did like 35 or 40 million after that, but it was off my old accolades, right? This wasn't off of new techniques, strategies. This was just my database. People loved me. I'd worked really hard for the last decade and I was closing loans. The first thing that I did when I hit reset and started over again was get into that content creation, be the digital mayor. Because if you're going from life support and you need to take those 2 defib paddles and shock that body, you got to do something to really shock the system. And for me, it was shock the market. So number one, most important thing you can do after hitting reset, making that decision to be different, to like take those punches, have people come speak into your life, was be the digital mayor through content creation. And I talked about that in the last podcast. If you haven't watched it yet, go back and listen to that, pause this one, and then come back to it. So there's 2 other things I did when I started, after I stepped down in October. And for me, I stepped down and it took me a while before I was legally able to start marketing because it took a while to build my company. I built a mortgage company like you did. Like we're either the biggest fools or we're going to have the biggest success. And that's to be determined. Now, I think we both would agree with no arrogance, we will be a big success. But right now, people outside looking in can be like, these guys are idiots. What were they thinking, right? Giving up a cushy gig at this time, poor timing. But I think otherwise. The second and third thing.
Can we just hit pause there for a second?
Yeah.
Because, the salary was nice. I mean, the mortgage getting paid on my building that I own, man, it was really nice. The stress that I was feeling because of the other factors that I could not control was terrible. And the way that I was showing up for my family was not the best version of me. And so, like, regardless of it all, like, if you're you have to do you have to be able to show up and be the best version of you. And you got to focus on the things that you can control. And the number one thing that you can control, it's not the external factors. It's your mind, it's the thoughts, it's the things between your ears. Yeah. And so whatever you need to do to correct that, whether it's listening to more Next Level Loan Officers podcasts, going all David Goggins, and whatever you need to do, like fix that for yourself first as you're listening to this, so you can start to build on the rest of the things, because you're not going to get there if you don't.
Yeah. And I 100%. And so those things were like having the right mindset, understanding, I think for me and for many, having the right mindset doesn't mean that you're always disciplined, always perfect. It simply means that you catch yourself when you're not. And you go, uh-oh, something's off, man. I need to pivot. I need to get back in with my coach. It's like if you're really athletic and you're in the physical fitness, when you've had a cheat day, right? And you're like, oh man, I had a cheat day. But if cheat day becomes cheat week, becomes cheat month, like deep down, there's an alarm bell going off saying something needs to change. And that's totally true. And that's that mindset piece. So we talked about the number one thing I did to reset my business. It was content creation. I use LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And I created a strategic strategy of different types of content to get in front of people. And it converted into business. The second and the third things were, I think, equally as important. And what's so great about all of these things is they overlap each other, right? And I think that's important because for me, I didn't have a lot of time in a day and in the week. I was building a mortgage company from scratch, and I've never done that before. So to build a company and dig into compliance, licensing, HR, finances, all that while trying to build up my business and my brand took a lot. And so I had to be very strategic with my time. The number two thing that I did to reignite my business, and it has worked really, really well, was events. And people are like, events, like there's nothing new about events. And that's true. There's nothing new about events. Now, we took it with a couple of different spins, and we talked about this in the Next Level Pro community a couple of times, myself, Rebecca Foote, and others. When you're doing events, you have to be very thoughtful around what you're doing. Now, I made a commitment that I was going to get in front of influencers. For me, it wasn't just like a referral partner. A referral partner is somebody who, we typically look at that as like a real estate agent. For me, I wanted anyone who could influence my pocketbook either today or in the future, right? And so for me, anyone who can influence my pocketbook might not be a referral partner. It may be a guy who does great stuff on social media who can put me on his platform, right? That might be an influencer. And so for me, I knew that I needed to get in front of more influencers in person and online. And so I created this cadence to events. And I made a commitment that every month I would do at least one event. Now, there's different types of events. And I kind of break them up into three categories. The one-to-one is a coffee appointment, happy hour, dinner. It's something where maybe you're meeting with a client and doing like a first-time homebuyer class with one person or a couple. One-to-one, high impact, high effort. One to some, hey, I'm going to do a small group class, or I'm going to meet with 4 or 5 agents and brainstorm. I'm going to sit down with a financial planning firm, and I'm going to walk them through the benefits of doing like an all-in-one CMG program, how they can leverage equity through a 5-day HELOC versus pulling their money out of the market, right? Because if you pull it out now, you're going to lose a lot, right? You already lost, guys. Time to keep it in the market. So that was that one to some strategy. And then there's the one to many. And the one to some is fairly high effort, right? Fairly high impact, but not as much effort as a one-on-one, right? You're able to speak to 5 people instead of 1. You'll get pretty good impact, not as much impact as you are at that one person, but you're able to do it with more people. And then there's that one to many. And the one to many in the past for me had been large scale classes. We would teach a class to have 50 real estate agents on social media. We brought in my business coach back in the day, Satem Magali. He spoke about mindset. We had agents crying in a room, Sean, like crying. And not because of their paychecks, because this was back in, the good old days, but crying because of their mindset. But I felt like today in 2023, I needed to pivot that based on COVID, based on where we are, based on what agents need. And so when you're going to do events, first and foremost, create a cadence. Number 2, create a commitment. Like, what are you committed to doing? Don't come with this weak ass, I'm going to do things, and then, I couldn't because the referral partner couldn't find time to do the event. Unacceptable. Right? Like if you've hit reset, your pocketbook and bank account have hit reset as well. You only have so much time to make your future success become your current success. And so for me, I made a commitment. I was going to do something every month, even if I was building a company from the ground up, had been out of the business for 2 years, had zero momentum, and had a loan partner who had just quit to buy a trailer and drive their West Coast. So like, again, if you're on this call and you're like, making excuses for why you can't do something, I can give you every excuse in the book, how to not complete an event. I just made a commitment to do that, right? So number 1, have a cadence to your event. Number 2, have a commitment to your events.
And you got to think about it as you're hearing Shane talk, like, you got one-on-ones, you've got groups, you've got, big events. For me, like, I'm still doing webinars every single month. That's my big events. I'm not hosting large in-person gatherings, not because I don't want, because I just don't want to.
Yeah, it's because you don't want to.
I'm taking the webinars that I'm hosting. I'm just doing one on ChatGPT next month. We've done it on HomeBot. You can do one on Home IQ, do it on the market, do it on so many things. And then I am strategically taking people from there and working one-on-one coffee appointments. And for me, like, I love coffee. Shane loves coffee. And like, that was one of the things, like the 2 things that I loved most in my 21 years in the business was helping people buy houses and forming relationships. And so like, whatever works for you, don't have to do what I'm doing. You don't have to do what Shane's doing, but pick what you like and what that cadence is for you. And then just rinse and repeat that on a monthly basis. If you got 5 people that show up to a webinar, great. If you have 30 people that show up to a webinar, great. You've got to keep doing it. in order to build that traction. And then you pick those people out for however you meet with them, whether it's one-on-one or small groups.
Yeah, and the reality is a one-to-one could be virtual or in person. A one-to-some could be virtual or in person. A one-to-many could be virtual and in person. That's the beautiful thing about like where we are now in 2023 is non-in-person education connection is totally accepted, right? So for me, I mix and match and I do all of the above, right? For me, I think that what I find to be the most impactful to me is one-on-one typically is in person. Now, I met with a future client 2 days ago and it was by Zoom because he is still not comfortable meeting in person. All good. Like instead of like having a political discussion about it, dude, it was easier for me. I sat in my office, I got on Zoom, we spent 20 minutes, I took my notes, bang, high impact, lower effort, right? So in those cases where you can do that, by all means do that. I think that for me, the biggest impact is meeting in person with people because I know one of my core values is connection, right? And so I want to connect with people. So create a cadence.
Can I give everybody a secret with clients?
Please.
I'm not meeting with any of them in person. It's all on Zoom. It is so much easier. My attention's better. Their attention's better. I can share my screen. I can manipulate my LOS. I can price out a loan. I can do whatever all right in front of them. So they can see it. They see how it affects. Hey, here's 250, here's 300, or in Shane's world, here's 3 million, here's 4 million, how purchase prices and how everything works. And it's so much better. It's a better experience than it is doing it in person.
Well, the reality is that when I'm creating events, I set my cadence, I create a commitment, and then I'm looking to create connection. However you create connection with people, if you can do that virtually, awesome. Like if you're a salesperson in 2023 and you can't create digital connections, you've already lost the game, right? So have a cadence, make a commitment to that cadence, and then ensure that everything you're doing is to form connection. So I do one-on-one in person and online. I do one-to-some in person and online. My one-on-ones are really more client and like specific strategic referral partner based, or in fact, like I'll meet with an agent one-on-one and the goal is like they have, 20 or 30 other agents on their team. So for me, it just depends on where you're looking to grow your business. For me, I'm looking to benefit my team and my company. So if I'm meeting with an agent, the goal is to pass that relationship to an originator on my team. For you, it might be, hey, I want to build that relationship to get more loans for yourself. It doesn't really matter. I think what I've noticed is I have my cadence that works really well. And that is every month, I'm actually doing several events in a month because they're not all in person and they're not all large. My big events that we do, the one-to-many, is every quarter. We created a series of events where we go to breweries and we meet with real estate agents only. And this is a strategy we talked about specifically in the pro community. And so I'll just give a quick overview of it. But we don't brand this as Shane the Mortgage Guy. We brand this as an independent third-party event for real estate agents. I just happen to be the facilitator and the host of it. It's not for profit. We're not making money, but we are charging the agents to attend. And this is key. By charging 10 or 15 bucks, and all we do is we figure out what it costs for 2 drink tickets, and that's the cost of the ticket. We have a higher level of commitment to actually showing up because there's something psychological. If you've given 10 bucks or 15 bucks, like you're more likely to show up. I'll tell you the first one we did, we've done 3 of these, and every one of them, so every quarter, last 3 quarters, we've done these events. We've had over 100 people in attendance. Our attendance percentage has been over 80%. The first event started at 4:00, and at 3:30, there were people parked in the parking lot of the brewery waiting to show up for the event, right? So there's a lot of obviously pre and post marketing that goes into this because the actual event is not the goal. The goal is the relationship and the connection post-event. The event is just that catalyst to start those conversations. So we do quarterly events, one-to-many. We do monthly events, one-on-ones and one-on-sums. And so what we do with that is we do many things. Like you said, you're meeting with clients. I'm speaking on a lot of different things. And that's what gets into the third thing I'm doing, which is education. Agents in this market are starving for education. Agents in the 2019 to 2022 market didn't need us, didn't want us around, didn't care about our opinion. Life was good. They were selling for over asking price in every market. And so because of that, that defaulted them to being a subject matter expert, whether they were or were not. Well, the reality was most of them didn't know their head from their ass. And they were just throwing something on the market. And because of the market, Sean, you and I could have been a top producing listing agent in any market in that last cycle. I could have advertised on Facebook every day. So excited to get another one of my clients' homes sold for over asking price. It's who you work with that matters. No, it's the market that you're in that matters, right? No offense. Like, and don't get me wrong, there's some phenomenal agents out there that do a great job. But the reality is the average agent who has now exited this space wasn't, and they didn't need us, or so they thought. They now have been reminded how much they need a high producing, highly educated, highly competent, knowledge-based communicator, which is Sean and I and the rest in the Next Level community. And so what I did is I made another commitment. I made a commitment to teach an educational product-driven class every month. And I said I was going to do this online, but I was willing to do it in person. And so what I did is I took a product, and guys, this is so simple. It's dumb. I didn't go out and find like the most random, exciting. I didn't go to my branch manager and say, hey, we need to add another investor. And do you think we could get this local credit union to do a partnership? I said, hey, agent, what do your clients need right now? They're like, dude, I got a lot of first-time home buyers that can't afford to get a home. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what else do you need? Man, I got a lot of people looking to sell homes, but they can't sell and buy until, they got their money tied up in their home. Okay, cool. What else? Got a lot of clients that just can't find what they're looking for in the market. This is crazy, but I just crowdsourced data. I took that data from the agents, and again, like, I think one thing that originators fail at time and time again is they don't ask enough good questions. Like, if you're single and you want to get a date, when you go out to coffee with, somebody that you're looking to date, ask them questions. Hey, what do you like to do? What's fun? Where are you from? What's your family life like? It's no different with referral partners. I asked them, what are your pain points? What are your clients' pain points? What I found out was there were 3 things I needed to focus on. First and foremost, it was basic overall mortgage knowledge. Agents and their clients did not understand the mortgage process. So I created a Mortgage 101 series in conjunction with some of my originators at my office, and we all made a commitment that once a month we were going to teach an educational class. These guys crushed it with the Mortgage 101. They talked about income, assets, and credit. And as dumb as this sounds, because we think people think like us, we think people have the knowledge that we have. We look through our lens and assume that the other person on the other side is looking through that same lens. And the reality is they're not. They don't know what MI is. They don't know what DTI is, LOX, LOE, whichever side of that fence you're on, right? They don't know those things. And the reality is we have to be educators if we are going to be better than the robots and the desk jockeys who have an office based at home and originate in 50 states for 50 basis points, right? So I created this series of classes. Number 1, Mortgage 101. Number 2, 5-day HELOC. We have a program we can run where it's a 5-day HELOC where you can leverage equity in a home to use for something else. Now, right now, that might be debt consolidation. Hey guys, kind of tired of paying that 22%, credit card rate. I'm looking at your liabilities and you got a $30,000 balance over here and you ain't paying that off in a month, making $6,000. Would you like to pay that off in 5 days? Would you like to take that interest rate from 22 or 24 or 26% down to 7%? I know 7's not great, but it's a hell of a lot better than 22, right? We were able to convert that into a deal. So we did a 30-minute webinar on, as dumb as it sounds, as simple as it sounds, HELOCs. The third one we've done so far is we did an all-in-one construction loan. And you're like, dude, who's building homes right now? Well, the reality is there's not a lot of people building, but there's a lot of people that dream of being builders. If you look on YouTube and you look at what people are watching, there are millions of viewers watching shows on people building their own homes. Whether that was from the pandemic or just the fact that like most people don't want to build, they want to own a box that somebody else lived in that a developer like cheaply threw up with like cardboard and glue. Like I'm like you, I'm like, man, I have this dream. Like, again, we're Americans, man. We have this dream of owning our own stuff. So everybody wants to build a home. The reality is HELOCs, all-in-one construction loans, CMG all-in-ones, like FHA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Home Ready, Home Possible, whatever the case may be, all we're doing is taking what we should already be experts on. Like if you offer a program, you should be an expert on that program. Simply put, there's not enough volume to make the excuse that you don't have time to be an expert. You're simply lazy, right? It's like if you have a gym membership and you're fat, you just don't want to go to the gym. It's not for lack of availability. We have all the knowledge at our fingertips. You look at all the mortgage insurance companies, they alone can educate us all on almost every program. So I took these 3 topics, committed to once a month teaching an educational class, and then started teaching. And I did this on YouTube. I did this in webinar format. I used Zoom. I posted this on social media. So again, this is where it overlaps. It overlaps with my social media being a digital mayor, because now that I was building up my digital presence and people were starting to remember, oh yeah, I used to do deals with Shane back in the day. Whatever happened with that? The reality was I stopped marketing to the referral partners. I screwed up. But I didn't say, hey, Sean, I'm sorry for not marketing to you for the last 4 years. I just started marketing to them again, right? Reignited those conversations. Then I overlapped that with my event strategy. Hey, now that I'm doing all these events, where do you think I'm advertising them? On social media, through digital platforms, through my tech stack. And then third, some of those events were educational events. We do market updates. And so I think for those out there right now saying, where do I start? I would first and foremost start with some sort of a weekly recurring cadence for a short form educational class that could be done online. It could be pre-recorded, could be live, doesn't really matter. And talk about the market, because Sean, I'll be damned if the market hasn't moved a lot in the last 5 to 7 days, and it will continue to move a lot. And even when it's not moving a lot, the outsider who doesn't stare at the bond charts all day like us still really feels like it's a volatile market. So number 1, create a weekly cadence. Do something simple in an area that you should already be an expert. Number 2, create a monthly cadence for doing something that's one to some or one to many. You define what that number looks like to you. When I started in the business in 2009, if I had a class of 3 or 4 people, dude, I was feeling like a champion. Right? I was like, man, I got 4 people to show up. Then, I made a concerted effort to grow my business, and we had classes with 100 people. It doesn't matter. Impact is going to come through connection. Everyone who you have in your class, the goal should be to connect with them. If you can connect with 100 people at a class, like good on you. I found out that I couldn't. So having 100 people in a room wasn't as impactful as having 50 in the room or 30 in the room, because the goal was spend the money, spend the time, bring people in a room to create connection. And then I would say number 3, so you do your weekly recurring, easy, simple, something that you know. Do a monthly recurring, easy, simple, something you should know, and then come up with a quarterly cadence. Do something bigger. If you need to, partner with other third parties, find brand ambassadors, title reps, attorneys, MI company reps who are local and engage in the market, people who are influential in the business but aren't your competition, and build an event. Go party with like-minded people, and then take your number 1 referral source. For most of us, that's real estate agents, and create an event where they can come together. So you're the guy at the door greeting everyone, checking everyone in, shaking everyone's hand, hugging people you haven't seen in a while. You're the one giving away the gifts. You're the one with the emails going out saying, don't forget, see you tomorrow. Don't forget, like, hey, like parking, is here. It opens at 4. And it was so great to see you. Hey, as we mentioned, you're going to want to follow up with this. Here's one of our great vendors. Check this out. You are the digital mayor. And if you do those 3 things, build your digital content, create events that you have a commitment, a cadence, and the goal is creating connection. And then you do educational items, whether that's small, medium, or large groups, you're going to win in this in any market. And the great thing about this, Sean, I was doing all this before the market sucked. I just wasn't doing it with the clarity and the simplicity that I have to have now, because the market's a little more desperate. And so I'm encouraged, because anyone out there listening on this podcast right now, and we have over 200 episodes, we're the top podcast by originators for originators. And I want to make sure people understand that. There's a lot of people out there that have home podcast setups now, and they're doing podcasts from their car, and they're speaking from the pulpit as if they're an expert, but they're not even in the market originating. They don't understand the pain that you and I are going through. They don't understand that, like, I look at my bank account, I'm looking at that reserve account, and it's not getting bigger right now, right? Anyone can do what we've talked about today. First and foremost, it takes commitment. It takes collaboration with like-minded people, and it takes a willingness to admit when you're not at the top.
Guys, there's about 600,000 homes for sale in the United States right now. And I'd like to do loans for a few of them. But the bottom line is, like, it doesn't matter where the market is. If there's 4 million, like at the peak when the Great Recession happened, we don't want that. That's not good for us either. I don't know when we'll get back to 2 million, which is the normal market that the National Association of Realtors talks about. But I just need 10. I don't know anybody on the planet who's a loan officer who, if they do 10 loans a month, is not providing incredibly well for the family. And so take what you've heard today, take what's been on dozens, hundreds of other Next Level podcasts at this point, take what your friends are doing and figure out the best things for you, find your cadence and put it on repeat. Like, the market doesn't dictate your success. You dictate your success. What happens in between years dictates your success. Don't be paralyzed. Take action and do something today.
I love it, man. And guys, if you are in a position where this resonates with you and you need to pivot, you need to reset, whatever that word would be for you in 2023, do not do it alone, right? There are so many ways that you can surround yourself with like-minded people. Now, you can invest the time and money to go out and build your own tribe, and you can do it. Now, the reality is you more than likely won't, right? It's like, everyone can sign up for Planet Fitness. I think it's like $7 a month. But the reality is they don't have 365 million members, right? The reality is that everyone needs community. And we provide that at an extremely low price point that gives you the opportunity to connect. In the Next Level community membership, our pro plan, for $197 a month, you get live 5-day-a-week training. You get meetups and masterminds in person. You have private accountability for 90 days, the opportunity to level up and invest in private coaching calls, a la carte, a digital platform, and like much, much, much more. That alone, just having access to a group of like-minded people with a 5-day-a-week cadence, that alone is worth $197 a month. Hell, it's worth $197 a week. Like, the reality is that we want to make it so stupid to not commit that you have to admit you just don't want it. If you're like Sean and I, and you knew that you wanted more for your business, that 2021 was really an aberration, right? That wasn't really the true market. We're now in the true market. And if you feel under-equipped for the reality of today, join the community. I joined this community over 5 years ago, and it changed my entire business life. I now have 5 businesses. I have a reserve account that can weather any storm. I have balance. I have the ability to still be generous with my time and my resources, even as this industry is in a massive turmoil. So guys, there's no better thing than joining a community. Join the Next Level community today. Go to becomnl.com. Hit up Sean or I. We're happy to give you our feedback. We'll see you guys on the other side.
Peace out.